Hey guys, in this video I just want to talk briefly about these three cymbals I have in front of me and talk about sound characteristics that you find in certain cymbals and the way that they're structured. Basically, the way that a cymbal is shaped has a huge effect on the sound that it has, and then also we have a lot of other elements involved in cymbal crafting. And so I picked three cymbals that I think kind of represent three different flavors to sound and sound profiles. I'll just go through and tell you what they are. We can talk briefly about what I'm hearing when I listen to these sounds and what I'm going for when I make cymbals that fall into one of these three categories. So first off, over here on my left, I have a 22 from my Labyrinth series. It weighs 2,427 grams, medium thin, bordering on thin. It is gnarly. It's got this aggressive kind of growl to it, and it's trashy. Very interesting sounding cymbal, very specific and unique, not for everything, but it does that one thing super, super well. In my main position, I have a 22 of my Tributary series here, and the weight on it is 2,382 grams. It's got a patina on it. It's got a hand-formed bell, and the way that it's been hammered is lending to a very dry or a drier sound, and it's got a taller profile to it. And then over here on my far right, I have a 22 from my Prism series. This one weighs 2,450 grams. It is a lower shaped cymbal. It's got less topography. It's got more of an even, smooth curvature. And so we have in these three cymbals a range of sounds. And those sounds can be good for certain things, not good for other things. So let's talk about the one that I find to be the most clean and the most pretty sounding one, which is the one on the far right. So this Prism series cymbal has a hand-formed bell. The body, the profile has been entirely hand-hammered, and it doesn't have as much heavy topography or heavy hammering to provide all this kind of like all these peaks and troughs and dips and hooks and things like that. It doesn't really have much of that at all. It's got this very even kind of medium-low shape. It's got a really strong taper, so it gets real thin out towards the edge, but there's enough body and beef up in the middle of the cymbal to have nice stick. And then it's got a kind of a smaller hand-formed bell. This cymbal has kind of a bright crystalline kind of top end to it, where it has a shimmer and a sheen to it that kind of dances on top. This quality in cymbals I find to be a quality that can mimic rivets. So there are some cymbals that sound like they already have rivets in them, and I find that to be when a cymbal is made to have that kind of high fidelity, high frequency shimmer and sparkle, that's when that character comes out. So I would say that this one has that in the top end, and then in the mids and lows it's got this nice lush warm sound. It's not aggressive. It doesn't have an abrasive feel. It's got this very soft, kind of mellow crash that opens up smooth. It's got a smooth sustain too, like it activates quickly, and it's got a nice smooth sustain. And for me, this kind of sound lends itself to stuff where to music where you're really trying to support the band. You're kind of coming underneath the band and providing a bed of sound to support it. When we get into these other two, we're going to start talking about the kind of cymbals that make more strong and pronounced statements. Those cymbals are a little bit less about always just being underneath everything. Sometimes they're trying to jump out on top. So this one is not like that. It's mellow, it's warm, it's lush, it's got a brightness, and it's got mids and lows, so the thing feels very stretched apart. This is what I talk about in other videos where I call it high fidelity sound. It's the idea, it's like when you watch a grainy video and then you watch a 4K high definition video and you kind of compare the two. With the high definition video, you see all this depth to the visuals, and sonically it's like being able to see, or it's like being able to have a lot of depth to the sound, where you can hear, you could focus on the sparkly highs and it's real clean and clear. You could focus on the mids and hear all the wonderful overtones. You could focus on the lows and hear that warm bed, that wash. And you can kind of pick them all out, and they feel kind of stretched apart and wide. So the highs are way up here, the lows are down here, and this is all this stuff happening in the middle. When you have a cymbal that's a little bit more squished, different characteristics come out, which is exhibited in these other two a little bit. But for this one, it's got this very wide frequency range, which I really dig. So that's the 22-inch Prism. Next, let's talk about this 22-inch Tributary cymbal. All right, so this cymbal is one that has a fully hand-formed bell as well, just like the Prism one, and it's got a little bit more of an umbrella shape to it. It's going to be very hard for me to angle this correctly, but hopefully that's kind of showing it there. Umbrella-shaped cymbals, what happens as you pull the shape up, you get more of this sound like you're cupping your hands in front of your mouth, and it has a slightly more round, mellow sound, as opposed to when I don't cup my hands and you can hear the definition in the sound. So it kind of like mellows out the sound. It adds in what we call ka, or kind of like an umbrella dragon's breath. It kind of adds in a little bit of that flavor to the sound, and it takes the pitch of the pitch, kind of an overall pitch of the cymbal. It kind of takes it up. So over here on the right, this Prism cymbal has kind of a low fundamental. The fundamental on this cymbal is higher because of that umbrella shape. And it's got topography to it, but it doesn't have extreme topography. So with that, we're not getting into the realm of trashy so much as we're just getting into this kind of dry, kind of old K, umbrella, ka kind of sound, but it's not really bordering into the trashy realm like it does on this cymbal. And the bell on this one is like wide and plateaued, kind of low. So the idea with this cymbal is a mellow bell sound. We're not going for like the chimey, ugly, clanky thing that a lot of umbrella-shaped cymbals have. I'm going for a mellowness with that umbrella shape. And with this kind of cymbal, I'm really not wanting so much of the bed of sound and the wash kind of dancing around like it does in the Prism. I'm wanting something that's more leaning on the stick definition to provide clarity and cut, and really for it to sit out on top of everything. So this cymbal is a cymbal in a jazz context you can dig into, and you're not going to get the wash to kind of build up in a way that overshadows the stick definition. It's really, the stick is really going to stay on top. Whereas at a certain point, there's a threshold with this one on the right where that wash is going to billow and maybe kind of compete with the stick definition. That's a kind of a drawback to lower shaped cymbals is that wash is going to activate easier and it's going to build up in its volume, whereas umbrella cymbals tend to kind of be a bit tighter and they tend to kind of control that wash. So that's the 22 Tributary. Let's talk about the most interesting one in my mind, the most funky and unique one in my mind, the 22 Labyrinth. All right, so the 22 Labyrinth is umbrella shaped as well. We got ourselves kind of a big, hook, sort of out near the edge, so like right around here on the cymbal. It dives pretty significantly, and this coupled with the topography, so like the amount of peaks and troughs that it has. This is what's giving it that kind of aggressive, growly, kind of growl to the sound. Growly growl. Aggressive, growly, kind of trash to the sound. And it kind of roars at you a little bit. These cymbals are interesting because you kind of have to, you have to know how to play them because they can run away from you a little bit. If you've ever played some of the more umbrella-shaped cymbals from the big companies, you'll know that some of them are very clanky sounding and very aggressive and harsh and shrill. But what happens is as that sound translates or as that sound is recorded, it has this wonderful, wonderful sound that we associate with guys like Bill Stewart and Tony Williams and some, a lot of old Ks kind of have this sound that's like just very intriguing because it's full of all these complex overtones and dissonant notes that are kind of competing, and the good umbrella-shaped cymbals that are trashy and have that kind of old K ka, those competing overtones, those dissonant overtones, like somehow work well together. And I find that like some funky notes in the cymbal, when you get that cymbal on the bandstand and you put it in the context of a room, a specific room with the other instruments, and you're playing music, I find that the weird stuff that we hate, within reason, some of those weird hums that we don't like when we're playing a cymbal by itself, actually blend in and are not heard in an acoustic environment. And so that's the kind of thing that's interesting to know when you're looking for buying cymbals. It's like the sound that you hear on top of the cymbal that you might not love all that much might be the thing that makes it inviting to play in a band context, and the thing that makes it interesting for the other bandmates and the audience member to listen to, because it's not so pristine and clean and just one-dimensional and boring. It's got levels of intrigue to it. So I really love the way this Labyrinth turned out. It had a lot of layering processes to get to this sound. It was in a previous state just yesterday, and yesterday I took it through one final state to add a certain type of finish to the cymbal, and that just opened everything up for me. It kind of locked everything in place to being the exact way that I feel like it needs to be. And so with these three cymbals, they represent kind of three flavors. There's obviously a million other flavors that I can't discuss in a short little YouTube video, but we have kind of really tall, aggressive, trashy. We have tall and more old K-like and more kind of controlled and dry, and then we have medium low and a little bit more shimmery, washy, and open. And so they represent three characteristics that, you know, if you identify one of these characteristics that you like, you can start to listen for that characteristic in a cymbal that you may want to purchase. The goal of this is really just to give you guys information so that you understand cymbal makeup, cymbal construction, and you can start to kind of put examples in your mind as to, okay, that's what trashy sound, that's what a trashy sound is. And so I like certain kinds of trashiness, but I want it to be coupled with another characteristic so that it has the sound that I hear in my head. This is the insanity that we all go through as drummers, looking for the cymbal that will help us develop our sound. And it's fun. It's like a never-ending search. My tastes have changed over the years as a maker and as a player. I'm constantly evolving, constantly changing what kind of cymbals I like and don't like. But there are some kind of universal traits that I always have in my mind that I'm thinking through for whatever environment I see myself playing in. And so these three cymbals kind of represent three vibes that I go for in a lot of the cymbals that I make, and in a lot of the cymbals that I take to my gigs to play. I want some cymbals that have, you know, kind of elements of all three of these. Like I want to have different cymbals in a set that represent different parts of these kinds of sounds. I want to have something that's got a little bit of trash to it, a little bit of that old K, Ka, complexity, dragon's breath, whatever you want to call it. I want to have a cymbal that has that, because there's a way that going to that cymbal during a certain part of the music can really elevate the music in an interesting way, or support a soloist in an interesting way. And then a cymbal like this that's got dryness and control is nice, because if you're in a really live room and you need to have your cymbal beat heard, then this is going to be the kind of sound you want to have in one of your cymbals. And then if you're playing like indie rock or folk, or you're doing a recording session with big, mellow, gushy, mushy sounds, something like this on the far right would give you this nice bed of sound to kind of come up underneath the music and support it in an interesting way. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please drop a comment below and let me know which of these three cymbals is your favorite. Which one would you love to play? And yeah, any other comments or questions that you have, drop them below. You can hit the like and the subscribe and the bell if you want notifications for future videos. I put out a video every Friday discussing something related to drums and or cymbals, mostly cymbals, as you probably know if you followed along with the channel for a while. But I do some drum content as well, and I plan to do some more in the new year. Hope you guys have had a wonderful holiday season and continue to have a wonderful holiday season. We'll catch you guys next time. I'm Timothy Roberts. Thanks for watching.